I mean, Corina said you just finished, right?
Yeah,
I didn't finish. Did everyone else finish?
I
I
had like
finished a
10
little while
minutes.
ago.
Yeah, I also just finished.
Oh,
Yeah.
if I didn't get
It's the holiday
distracted,
season.
I would have finished.
Like I
Um,
like it, but it's like you kind of really have to pay
yeah.
attention. So I feel like, and the chapters are long,
Hmm.
so I feel like, I gotta like dedicate time to it. Whereas sometimes I can just listen while I'm driving or something.
Yeah, especially because so in this section we start getting the cousin and we start getting like more characters, and I know we knew that there were going to be multiple, but it's just like are and even with the years, you know how it's not the same year. It's not like all a
Mhm.
long time ago. It does take a lot to try and really determine who's talking or how far away are we from like, oh, is Janet okay, or stuff like that. So I struggled. I struggled in this section. I think that's why I didn't finish. Chapter 6, I tried to read it at a coffee shop with my sister twice. So that one took a minute. I was like, oh God.
It's definitely tricky. I feel like because I had conferences the last like week and a half, I took a break from reading and then I read like the two chunks right now, but I was kind of speed reading, so it's definitely like one that you have to pay attention to.
Hmm.
But as I like was getting through the pages, I started slowing down a bit because at first I was like, oh, I didn't know how long it was gonna take.
I like it though. It's just
Mhm.
it's a lot of information, and I think part of it is like heavy, and like where when they're saying like, oh, that the dad had pretty much abused Jeanette.
Mhm.
Um when I saw that, I was like, wait, did she just say that? Like I had to kind of like, wait, did that just happen? Because it's like a one line whenever they say it. And
Yeah.
then they go deeper into it, but I'm like, you can easily just, oh no, that never happened, or like you didn't read it, if you're not paying
Mhm.
attention. You're like, what?
It seems like the mom was trying to pretend it didn't happen too, so I thought that was super angsty. I felt bad for her.
Yeah, that was sad.
Hmm. And then the part with not related to what we just said, but the part with the panther, I was tripping over. I was like, what the hell? Like
What? What was that?
it was like the mom was hearing the growl when she was having like some sort of dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, first
Yeah.
time she comes over. But then she goes into like the neighbor's house to see. So I was like, okay, you can be curious, but I don't know like if I would actually like go inside someone's house.
Yeah.
And then when she said it was a panther, I thought it was gonna be like Scarface, where they're just like buying like all this opulent stuff because it said like expensive decorations. So I was like, this is gonna be like a drink. So you don't want to just like go into a stranger's house. I don't know.
I thought it was some type of like symbolism at first, and I thought it
Hmm.
was strange how she like saw the blood. I was like, no, I have a dinner party to take care of.
Mhm.
I was like, leaves it on the back burner. Like I would be thinking about that the whole time. And
Mhm.
I don't know if it was like a metaphor for addiction, like the guy when he went outside, Mario, that his name?
Hmm.
Mhm. The boyfriend or ex-boyfriend.
Um, went to go outside and she thought he was using drugs.
Mhm.
And then for it to actually like have been a real cat, and I was like,
Yeah.
kind of, I thought it was just some weird spiritual thing, but it was real.
I think Pablo Escobar, like wherever he had his house, he had like exotic animals too. So that's why I kind of like thought of like maybe drug dealers. I don't know.
Yeah, that part with the panther and the growling, I also was like, does this mean something more than what they're telling us? And I'm like,
Mhm.
what could it be? Like thinking it'd be symbolism or some sort of like magical realism to something. And I'm just like, oh God, I really have to think. Like, it's not just like I can just read over and be like, oh, what is that sound? You know?
Mhm.
But then when the panther shows up, you're like, oh, but then I'm still kind of like, what does
If
it
she went
mean though?
closer, I was like, I would be like, let's go.
Yeah, why would the author put this there? Like I'm still kind of Like, because it,
Like,
it
don't-
wasn't just a little thing that was mentioned. It was like mentioned in a chapter and then brought up again. And I'm like, what does
Mhm.
that mean? So I think that is also something that confused me a bit. I'm like,
I'm
Yeah.
thinking, because you know how like the book said, like, oh, the mom chose not to repeat it or talk about it.
yeah.
Um, I maybe it's like just pointing out how it's kind of something extreme, and she, like, her go-to is to not talk about things that need to be talked about, like, you know, her daughter being molested and her husband having a substance abuse disorder and stuff like that. So maybe that's what I was trying to point out. Like, no matter how extreme, she's just gonna like choose not to talk about it.
Yeah.
or even if you like cage, like maybe she's trying to like cage her daughter and she's gonna like bite you in the butt in the end. Or even like cage her own emotions. Like
Mhm.
they're gonna become unleashed. And I don't Panthers have some mythical, not mythical, but like importance
Well,
in some like
apex predators, that's
mhm. In an
Yeah, and
ancient-
like her, like she said her husband was kind of abusive to her, but she's like, he's my husband, so just kind of went along with it. Maybe he was like the abusive panther and she's like the caged one also.
Yeah, that part where I think Janet told her and she didn't really believe her. But then when she kind of like sat with the thought of it, she's like, wait a second. Well, he did show up drunk sometimes and he was just on top of me. And I'm just like, oh my God. And it's just, I mean, I feel like I've heard some stories like this, like in the clinic and stuff, or I can see it happening. It's just sad that I'm sure she thought she was the only one, and there's a lot of people that are, or a lot of women that are actually going through the same thing. And I'm like, that's just sad. It's just sad that it happens. And,
Mhm.
they just keep going with their life like nothing. And I'm like, why don't you speak up? Why don't you get some help? Like it's such a norm,
Mhm.
sadly.
I feel like the part that was relatable to some parts of it is like, even though it said like 2014, 2015, I feel like that's still pretty close to now in the long run of the book and compared to other books we've read. But the part where she's talking with her mom, and I think they're in the kitchen, and she's just like, my therapist, every therapist I've gone to says it's not healthy to not talk about it like how you do. I feel like that's definitely like something that like our generation kind of struggles with our parents, because some parents like don't want to talk about things, or older generations like don't want to mention things, and people would just say like, oh, we don't talk about this, but it's like something that's still causing issues.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like confused on the timeline because like the most recent I think is 2018 and then like that when was that Thanksgiving? Was it 2015 or 16? Like was that what was first, the Cuba trip in the chapter 9 or that Thanksgiving?
I think Thanksgiving was 2016. Yeah, 2016. And Cuba, I feel like Cuba's after. Oh, interesting. That was 2015.
Yeah, I'm like it's confused, especially because on the audiobook.
But then
So
I
I just like
thought
hear it.
during oh no, yeah, Janet said she was talking to her cousin. But I thought they hadn't seen each other. Right?
I think that's the other one, like the Lily one, or
Oh,
the one she called Anna that wasn't Anna.
Oh, well, yeah, there's one cousin
Or
at
no?
Thanksgiving and then another cousin. The name starts with an M in Cuba.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. There's a younger, smaller one. And I think was that her uncle? It wasn't, was it Pepe? Was that
The
his
one that
name?
had the flask.
The one that had what?
The one that
The
had the
flask.
flask.
Yeah. That's the one that was like, oh, you should talk to my delis or something, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the
Oh,
cousin.
hi, Crystal.
Hello.
Hello.
And I think Jeanette at that time said, oh, yeah, I do talk to her. But I assumed they hadn't seen each other in many years or like
she-
they hadn't visited each other.
Yeah.
But
Through email,
maybe,
right?
I need this. I feel like this book needs one of those family trees. I have the audiobook, so maybe there is a family tree.
I think Eileen sent one in the group chat, but I'm not sure because mine had one at the beginning.
Yeah, I've
But-
been referencing that a lot.
I need to look at it.
but it's only the female characters, I think,
Oh.
because like I don't think they ever mentioned her dad's name in the tree. Yeah, look. I put-
No.
Let me see if I found him.
Oh, that's
Okay,
way too
just-
bright.
I was like, me, here it is on the.
I
Yeah. It's like Maria Isabel, Cecilia, Dolores, Carmen, then Janet, and then Elena and my delis.
And Maria's
like-
the one that would roll the cigars, right? The one from the very beginning.
Cecilia?
Maria or Cecilia?
I think Maria Isabel was the first woman we met.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up with Antonio, or I don't know if that was his name, but he was teaching her how to read and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cecilia is a child, and Cecilia is the one where someone was telling, I think it's my delis. No. Like in the Thanksgiving dinner, they're like, oh, did you know our great grandmom did, she rolled up cigarettes and like you can smoke them and feel the history and all that stuff. But I just realized there's an X between Cecilia and Dolores.
yeah.
Why is that?
I'm gonna Google it. Why X's and family trees?
That's a good point.
Like they
I was wondering if everyone above the X is dead.
Oh.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't noticed it until right now. So maybe, right? Because I think they wanted either Carmen to go talk to Dolores, which is her mom.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means they're dead, but usually it's on top of the name.
Interesting.
I also thought it was um interesting Anna and Gloria's experience in Mexico with that family and the Nancy woman
Mm.
who just fled. See, I would have taken the money even if she was still there.
I think I've been there to Irapuato or passed through there at least. But they are, I know they're on the family tree, but are they also related or am I missing something? Or is it like a parallel story?
I think it's a parallel story.
That kind of makes sense. Oh, because the little girl was like next to Jeanette or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Connected.
Yeah, that's right. Because we didn't talk about it in the last meeting.
Mm.
How I think it was the last one, right? Or I think the previous section mostly involved how Jeanette started drinking and doing drugs.
Mhm.
Or mostly doing drugs, not really drinking.
I need to go back and look at the years on the chapters. Hmm.
But it's sad that Gloria, like, they're not Mexican and then they just dump them there, assuming they're Mexican, just because they speak Spanish and they're like, oh, you're all Mexicans. Like, that's just really mean.
Mhm.
And they're out there to like try and figure out their life in a place they don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, in Mexico recently, I've seen like some, I think some people that were detained and brought back to Mexico, like from Haiti and El Salvador too. The time that the Gloria was taken was 1 year before, so it's 2014. So then that was before she went to Cuba and everything.
Mm.
It was interesting to read too when Jeanette went to Cuba. Just like how her cousin thinks like she's gonna like send for her and bring her to the United States and stuff. And that she was, I feel like there's parallels between like other stories I've heard of like friends of mine that have gone in different experiences with families and expectations of like, money or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder if like I feel like their paths are gonna cross again, but I don't know how. I don't know if she made her way to Cuba or if she'll make her way back to Miami. Anna, I don't know.
I can see their crowds passing back again. Because why would you introduce, like, because I mean, technically they were neighbors. So why would you introduce them and have them kind of talk for a little bit, like Jeanette helping Anna, or not Anna. Oh no, yeah, Anna's a little girl. Anna just sounds like a like an adult. Like Anita, let's call her Anita. Just kidding. I can see it happening because it wouldn't make sense. I mean, the author could do that and we'd be like, for what, you know? But I don't think so. Like if there has to be a connection again.
Yeah, I feel like if they don't come up anymore, it'd be weird. Like why bring them into the story at all then?
Yeah.
So maybe it's to show like I think Jeanette is a good person. So maybe like by taking Anna in, it's showing like she's even though she's still kind of like figuring things out and struggling with her substance abuse disorder, like she still like was I think really nice in bringing Anna in.
They're all just going through so much. And Jeanette obviously needed her mom, and the mom was, like we said, they don't talk about it. So that's not helping her. But for the Thanksgiving dinner, she is sober, yeah?
Yeah, so because the mom said it was like the first time she'd seen her sober. She hadn't come over in forever. But Anna also, I mean, like Anna also says like to her mom, like, or like everyone's here, but they don't know about like what I'm going through. So I feel like that's kind of like hard. That's another thing the mom's not discussing.
And I think in that chapter with Thanksgiving, the mom or the author narrator was saying she didn't know that in 5 years she would be driving Jeanette back to rehab.
Mhm.
So I wonder what will trigger
Oh,
her
the
back in
mm-hmm.
Right.
relapsing.
That's crazy.
I was gonna say, my question was gonna be, do you think she relapses? And I was like, no, she seems like she's gonna be okay. But you're right. There was a mention that the mom was taking her somewhere. She was like, I wish I would have said something else, or I wish I would have done something differently. Because now you're like on your bed, right?
Mhm.
So sad.
And was the father's molestation also what led her to be so risky when she was younger?
Mm.
When she was like, what, 14, 15?
14, 15, yeah.
And she went out to that club.
That
At,
was crazy.
she was 16 at that time? 14?
I think after she finds the body, she kind of shouts at the guy, like, I'm 15 or something, because he starts
Yeah.
freaking out, like, of getting in trouble by the police. And he's like, how old are you? And then she's like, I'm 15.
Yeah, I think initially she had said, oh, I'm like, I'm of age, I'm old enough. And then when she's like, no, I'm 17 and a half. Because I remember I was writing down my notes. I was like, oh, she's 17 and a half. I was like, oh, she's so young. But then she does say she's younger. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you're out here.
I can't imagine being 15 and going out to a club like that.
Yeah. And like
Like,
Long Island and like doing coke. Like, that is, you're already exposed to so much.
some people, like my cousin in Mexico, he also told me, like, when I went out with him and his friends, he was like, oh yeah, I've been going since I was 15. And I'm like, what's wrong with you, you know? But it's just different. I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think he has like a disorder or anything, but I was just like, because I think he's 24 now. So like when I went out with him last year, and he's still 23, I'm like, oh, you're a baby, you know? And so then, because he looked like he was a little tired, and I'm like, oh, are you okay? He's like, yeah. But he told me like he sometimes doesn't like going anymore because he's been going since he's 15, and I'm like, very weird.
A lot of our students go to, is the drinking age in Mexico 18?
Yes.
Hmm.
So a lot of them go to TJ to
Mm.
party. And so, because the drinking age is lower, a lot of them just party younger and younger.
Mm.
But they're just like, and they talk about it all the time. But I'm so, like, I could never imagine doing that. Even like now as an almost 30-year-old, but I'm not a partier.
When I was 18, because I went to college at USD in San Diego, and they would have these like party companies with these party buses
Mm.
that would like pick us up like across the street from campus and take us down there and take us back. But I think like the following year it got a lot more dangerous, and I think that kind of they stopped doing it.
Mm.
That's fun though, but they kind of just dropped you at the border and then you had to like take a cab. And it's pretty much all like there's some like Americans down there. But some people seem like they're get too drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would just want to be aware of everything.
I know a lot of SDSU students go. My coworkers want to take me to Rosarito. Rosarito, yeah, the beach.
Mhm.
So I want to go there, but I've never been to Mexico, even though I'm so close to it.
That'd be fun. It just takes so long to cross back, like the border crossing. It's so
Mhm.
crazy.
Gloria's story, um, of how she got pregnant was good because she was raped, right? Because I
Mhm.
keep thinking it's Jeanette's mom, but
Mhm.
it's not.
Oh,
Because like I keep forgetting like to pay attention to who the book is about, or not the book, the chapter's about.
Mhm.
So I just remember because when my sister asked me, she's like, "Oh, what's the book about?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, just explain the part where she was describing that like she didn't want to give her up, like she wanted to keep her, and like obviously making such a sad situation sound so like better by saying like, you know what, I chose you and I wanted you, and I feel like people are people when you meet them." And I was like, "Oh, that is so," like it was just so sweet that I just thought it was Jeanette and her mom, but it wasn't. But it's also like it kind of goes with like Janet's experience, and I don't know, there's just so much and such heavy things, but it's also really nice to hear a different perspective of like, oh, like she was raped and she still
There
had
was
her
like
kid
a
and doesn't
connection
want to.
with James, right? Like someone didn't pay up something, and then there was like this
Yeah,
retribution. That was crazy.
yeah. And it's like I think she said you were a warning,
Mhm.
and here I am. And I was like, oh my God.
And then the uncle got killed or something, right?
Yeah, and the uncle got killed.
It's a lot of intense things. It is heavy, like you said.
Hmm.
In the ICE facility, that was crazy. Like to imagine that, and they were there for so long. And
It kind of reminds me of, what book was it? Oh, I have to go back. That one book that everyone thought it was controversial. American Dirt. Is that what it's called? Yeah. We didn't read this, but this is how Crystal and I decided to, or came up with the idea of a book club, because we were trying to read American Dirt
It took us how long?
so much. But I feel like American Dirt is kind of similar to this book because of the little things that they mention, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. Like it's that intense that I don't know. Like all the
yeah, and
women.
it's like you've heard of these things, like you've
Yeah.
heard of these detention centers or like the
Mhm.
raids or like the American Dirt or the historical stuff, but like when they talk about it in detail, it makes it more real.
And the fact that it's not wasn't that long ago, or this is
Yeah.
still happening.
I mean, I like it so far. It is just heavier than than I expected.
Yeah, I like it. I hope at the end it all gets tied in together
Mhm.
so we're less confused.
Also true. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think this would be one I would recommend to like my other book club. I
This
think
one?
they would like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't seem like there's a lot going, but there's a lot going on. They each have their stories, they each have their depth stuff, and like we can like it's a different way of thinking and seeing how their world is and was. Because like you said, we hear about it, but then you think it's like, oh, in the 1900s, and this is 2016, 2010, 2000s.
Karina said her computer died, but she'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Especially also just seeing like a different culture. Because when they were describing when she was in Cuba, how I mean, I know that Cubans are racist, but just overall like seeing how I guess how racist they really are. It's interesting to see because I mean Mexicans too, like they're kind of the same against black people, but just to like immediately blame that person for stealing the book, even though obviously it wasn't them.
Yeah, and how the German guy is like,
Oh.
oh, they ruined my car. Da, da, da. Like, why would they ruin your car? There's not even a mechanic who can like charge you.
Mhm.
I was like, that racism.
Wait, Rico's Jr.?
Hello?
Yeah.
Says Federico Lopez Jr.
It's Karina.
The computer didn't warn me. It was like at 50% when I started. So I was like, I'm
Oh.
gonna wait for the little thing and then it just turned off. So I'm like, oh no. What did I miss?
We were just talking about. I think Julie was saying that she would recommend this book to her other book club and other people, and then just how Eileen was saying how it's a different culture, but like how you can see the racism.
Yeah. It reminds me of some books I've read more about like the Dominican Republic, like in the time of the butterflies, kind of like was similar to the beginning chapter with the grandma that was rolling cigars. And there was another one about Cuba that I read recently, but I can't remember the name. I'll check on the Goodreads. That one was more romantical, but it had a lot of angst about like how people live now based on the repercussions from like the revolution and everything.
Yeah, I just know that Cuba is more political, but I haven't read many books. I've thought about reading books from Cuba or that are in Cuba, but I haven't.
I took the Cuban literature and culture class at Cal Poly as part of the Spanish minor, but I feel like even so, we barely scratched the surface. Like there's so much. We read a few books and we watched a movie, but yeah, the racism definitely was blatant. The book I read was called Next Year in Havana
Oh,
by Chanel Clayton.
that's the one I have. Oh,
I think you would like it, Judith. I'll send a screenshot.
I have it
I'll see if
Mhm.
that's it.
because I brought some of my books and I was like, this is one of the books I've been trying to read. So I was like, I'll bring it. And
Oh yeah, you pitched that at least once.
yeah, one time I was also gonna read it with one of my friends, and we're like, let's have our own little, like, not even book club. It was just you read the same book, I'll read the same book. Let's talk about it. And we never read it.
Mhm.
And then
read along.
her book got destroyed in the rain. So I was like,
Mm.
okay. Maybe after this one I'll read
So you'll have to read it and mail it to her.
it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Be like, hey, by the way, I finished it. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, that one was interesting. It was very different than this one. It was, but still with the theme of someone from the United States coming like to visit their roots.
That's a good one.
Everyone's boxes got moved around. So I'm gonna move you back to where you were. That's bugging me.
So I didn't realize that this was gonna be our third meeting. So I was gonna reply to you, Julia, about the book. But then I also didn't know what you guys wanted as a theme. And so maybe we can, let's see. Let me look at the calendar. Well, in December, 2 Sundays are gonna be the holidays. So that's gonna be really,
That's very tricky.
yeah. So we could do. The next meeting is there. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it gets tricky.
And we could take like a holiday break.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was
Yeah,
gonna
winter break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
I'm like,
getting pretty busy.
yeah. Because I'm like, we finish our book next week, so that'll be. But since we didn't get to pitch a book and stuff, I'm like,
Yeah.
we could do like 2 weeks of whatever book ends up happening December 10th, December 17th, but then we would have like 2 weeks off because I don't think we should try and scramble a day within the week of
Mm-mm.
Christmas and New Year's. Like that's just chaotic. I wouldn't even no, like we're not gonna. So then it'd be like read for
But I
2
think
weeks and then
this-
skip.
We could do
Yeah.
like a winter reading assignment. Like we could pick like those Christmassy ones and you can read it, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. And then when we meet again in the new year, we can talk about it or just pitch new ideas.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like that
Yeah.
because I don't know who's gonna travel, who's not gonna travel, and I think that just gets like I said, more chaotic. So I feel like we could pick, yeah, a Christmassy book.
Or like a book you've been wanting to read before the end of the year and you didn't get to it.
Oh yeah. That's a good
Oh,
one.
last chance of 2023.
Yeah, we can
Ah, last chance.
Mhm.
I like that. I like that because I feel like we've seen so many that we've been trying to read, and then it doesn't get picked, and then you're like, okay, and then we move on to a different theme or something, and it's still like it doesn't even fit in the theme, or you don't get the opportunity. So I think I like
Yeah.
that.
On that note, like not that we have to do it this time, but just an idea. I was thinking right now, like it would be cool to do like when Judith, you've said that some have been like very close in the past or that they've tied. Like it would be interesting to like round up the books that like were maybe the runner-ups.
Yeah,
then
that's
pitch all
that's what
the-
that's what I'm saying, where it's like so close, and I think I'm gonna
Mhm.
try and pay more attention to that. I can go back to the other stuff, and then out of those we pick like 5 out of the, let's say, 5 runner-ups. That will be a section or something, or a group, and then we vote on those. I think that'd be
Okay.
cool.
Look at the month before and pick number 2 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've gotten some good books when we like repitched them.
yeah, I like that.
Good idea.
Yeah, I can send in your books.
Should we pick the next theme too? Or should we do this for the next 2 months?
The runner-ups?
Yeah,
We could.
because like, are we just gonna meet when we're done with it and then?
That's what I was gonna say for December, since we have 3 weeks before Christmas Eve and all that stuff.
Or if we pick a short one. Either way works.
A book of like less than 300 pages. Because what you said, Katie, was
Mhm.
do we send in the book that you've been wanting to before the end of the year?
Yeah, we
just-
can do that. Yeah, whatever you guys think. I was like, I don't know about the timeline or anything. So we have the next meeting, which would be
26.
the 26th, and then we have like 2 meetings in December,
Mm-hmm.
and then we would come back sometime in the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So we could either pitch a short one and then have a winter reading assignment, or we can pitch our last favorite or must read before
Must
end of
read before the
2023.
end of the year. Yeah.
Have 2 meetings and then we just wrap it up on our own.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So we're not gonna have a meeting on the, well, yeah, because you're gonna send in your book, and
Mhm.
then I'm gonna send in the form. So like by this week, and I don't want to rush you guys to do it by like the next meeting.
Mhm.
So I was thinking maybe not have a meeting on the 3rd,
Mhm.
so then we can start in case you guys haven't gotten the book. Because I feel like, do you guys think it's rushed when I don't send in the form right away?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool.
No, because I just get the audiobook. So
Or the Kindle.
Okay, cool.
I usually do the Kindle. Another thing, not that we have to decide for this one, but like there's some books that are like a series of short stories too. So then if we got one of those, then we could just like do one short story and then finish the rest in January.
Hmm.
But I feel like it's harder to find those types of books.
I was gonna say, yeah. So
Oh yeah, that would be a cool theme, like short story theme.
short stories,
this
yeah.
This book is almost like short stories.
Yeah, and like you
Yeah,
don't
it
know
yeah, we
until-
didn't even know.
until you're like reading it. So it's kind of hard to, like, if
I
you're grabbing a book and you're like, oh, this is great, but
But I like Katie's idea.
so send in your last book to be read this year. I'll send in the form as soon as I get at least 5 books.
And is the book gonna have to be Christmas theme or is it just any theme?
It could be Christmas. It could be no theme. Just whatever you want to be. Whatever one book you like must read before the year ends.
Copy that. Thank you.
like I already know what I'm gonna pitch. The Nightingale.
The Nightingale. Yeah. I'll send the form. We can vote on it as soon, like it's fine. We can do it by even after our meeting, it's fine. So we can have our first meeting by the 3rd. Yeah, it should be fine. I'll post about it.
Do you want us to send the pictures into the Instagram chat?
Yes. Yes, please. And I'll do the form thingy.
All right, sounds good.
Cool, cool, cool. Read the last section, a ver qué pasa. I hope Janet doesn't die.
I feel like
Honestly,
it's gonna
I'm
be
scared.
sad. She's gonna relapse.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of know that's gonna happen, but I'm also like, is she gonna survive? Is my
Right.
what I'm scared of.
Wait, I'm a little confused. So, are we sending in our pitches or
Yes.
we're waiting?
Yes. Send in your
And we're
pitches.
pitching the second chance, last chance.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then
Okay.
after
Second
that,
Paula.
yeah. After that, I'm gonna go back into the other stuff and then do the runner-ups. So then we,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. because right now I feel
Okay.
like just getting your one book that you just have to read before the year ends. and then we'll figure out the rest.
Okay. Okay. I'll tell Paula then.
Yeah, just be like, send
Happy
in whatever book you want to read.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll see you guys in a week. Have a
Alright.
great Thanksgiving. Eat all the food,
Eat all the food.
all of it. Take breaks so you can eat everything.
Oh.
Don't get too bloated.
I can eat a lot.
All the shopping.
Oh, the shopping too. Oh, I forgot about the shopping. Yeah. Well, hope you get good deals. And I'll see you then.
Alright,
Okay,
take care,
bye.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Buenas noches.
Good
Good
night.
night.